Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of cricket, Shaheen Shah Afridi leads Pakistan to 109-run victory over West Indies in the second test. And yes, from the world of tennis, Andy Murray knocked out of the Winston-Salem Open by Dan Evans, makes it through to the third round. And yes, from the world of Tokyo Paralympics, it opens after a year of viruses delay on Tuesday. And yes, talking about Paralympic cycling, Dame Sarah Story has won Paralympics GB's first gold medal of the game after winning C5 3,000-meter individual pursuit title. And yes, those were the headlines. And talking about how Pakistan managed to beat West Indies in the second test. It had been a super interesting test for the fact that, we were expecting some miracles and finally we managed to get some. Not to forget that obviously it came up to a point of Fawad Alam's amazing score, but not to forget that Shaheen Shah Afridi managed to get those 4 amazing wickets, putting Pakistan in the lead in terms of winning this match. And Pakistan won by 109 runs. To discuss more in-depth analysis, we have with us former cricketer Yasser Arafat. Yasser, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. So Yasser, I'm going to talk about the second test to begin with. Pakistan managed to level it up with the West Indies. So what's your take on the overall match and how Pakistan managed to get there and, managed to work as a team the way they're supposed to?
I think we all should be very happy and proud the way Pakistan bounced back in the second game. Although we had a very bad start by losing 3 early wickets just for 2 runs in 10 minutes of the match of the first session. Right. And I think this is the second time when Pakistan lost 3 early wickets and then they were able to manage to win the test match. Last time, if you remember, Pakistan was playing in Karachi against India and Pakistan lost 3 wickets for just no runs, and this is the second time, I think. And credit, we should be, give credit to all the players, all the coaching staff, the way they bounced back, and then the partnership they had on the first day between Babar Azam and Fawad Alam was exceptional, and finishing off with the exceptional bowling we have seen from Shaheen Afridi. So all in all, it was a good performance, and we all should be happy and proud of Pakistan team's performance.
Right. And I would also want your input with regards to, obviously, if you talk about Abid Ali, Imran Butt and Azhar Ali, because obviously we are still looking into the situation and scenario created to us by the team, because we have had enough in terms of, having those early fall of wickets that actually breaks the team up. Even though we managed to win, we all know that, but yet again, it is a struggle. And I don't think it's not only based on the test side, but I also think it is also based not only on the test, but on the ODI and the T20 side. So what can actually be done in terms of, coming to a perfect blend of team?
I think you're right, because if somebody is not performing and they are lack of scoring runs, so I think the best policy should be, just drop them, send them to the domestic cricket, allow them to play more domestic cricket, more matches, and then you can brought those guys back in. But at the moment, these, taking, put other aside, but those 2 guys, Abid Ali and Imran, but they are, they look. They don't look confident. They're not scoring runs. There are few faults in their batting technique. So the best thing would be to send them into the domestic cricket, because the season is going to start soon. So they will play matches there and get their form back. But Azhar Ali, again, he's the key player for Pakistan for the last 10 years. So I'm sure, and I wish that he can get that form back. And there are players who can replace them at the moment. Saud Shakil is with the team for the last 1 year now. He's been there on the last few tours. So you can try him, but at the same time, he's not an opener. But you can, change the batting order by sending Azhar Ali up the order, have Saud Shakil. And there is another guy who he's been consistent in domestic cricket, Usman Salahuddin, scoring so many runs. So there are options. So it all depends on the selector and the management. So who they are going with, because we have a gap of like 4-5 months before they play the next test series. So I think there's a lot of work needs to be done with these players, top order batsmen. So hopefully they come out with some plans for the futures.
Well, let's hope so, because ultimately the issue that the team faces is definitely the top order batsmen. And as discussed, obviously, because we still think that, when we talk about the selectors, as you just mentioned, the team selectors should be discussing or maybe concluding something. There is one question mark and one question that rose after Fawad Alam's beautiful 124 unbeatable performance. So what's your take on his entire situation? Because there are too many question marks with that. And a lot of people are blaming, maybe the management, maybe the selectors, that where did his 11 years go? The time where he could have proven himself even more stronger and a better Fawad Alam than how he is today.
I mean, Fawad was my colleague when I was playing, and he was like a junior to me. And I have seen and I've, followed his cricket all those 11 years, or before when he was playing for, Pakistan or Karachi or the National Bank, other departments. So I have seen his journey from start to till now. He is exceptional cricketer, hardworking. The good thing about him was he got a good mentor of, his father. He's a cricketing family. He's from a cricketing family. His uncle plays first-class cricket. His dad played first-class cricket. I think those were his mentor, and I think that helped him a lot during that 11 years when he couldn't pick for Pakistan. And now since he's back, so he proved every people working at that time, like selectors, the captains, previously who ignored his performances, because everybody was saying on the media, the media people, the people who were sitting on the TV, that he should be in the squad. But gone is gone. But now what he is doing at the moment is exceptional, because looking into this particular series, the conditions were not good for the batsmen. Because the ball they were using was Duke ball, which swings for a longer period of time. The conditions were good, but were good for bowlers. So I think we must give credit to the batters, Babar Azam and Fawad Alam, particularly Fawad Alam. When he came into the crease, we were already 3 down. So what else you can what else kind of a performance you want from a batsman?
Right, and you just mentioned 3 down, because in generally from what I've heard in terms of cricket, I've heard the 1 down is one of the most toughest batting position or the lineups. So we were already 3 down, so definitely it would be a lot of responsibility for him.
Yes, that is the number where he has been playing throughout his career. So I think that number batting orders suits him. There was a thing in the past when he was ignored, that they were saying that in the middle order at that number 4 and 5, we used to have Misbah ul Haq, Yunus Khan, and Asad Shafiq. So it was difficult for him to get into the squad at that number. But he, hats off to him that he, keep working hard, keep performing well at domestic level. And once he got his chance now to play for Pakistan, he's showing everybody that how good he is as a batsman.
Absolutely, and we are proud of him. And being proud, I would also want to talk about, in terms of course, we talk about Shaheen Afridi, who was declared man of the match. What an amazing, exceptional bowler he is. Do you think in the current scenario and the conditions, obviously, if we look into how, because all the teams eventually prepare themselves for any major event, and one of the major events that's coming underway is going to be the WT20 World Cup. So how do you think well-prepared Shaheen Afridi as a bowler is? Because obviously he's going to be in the UAE and the Oman. So I'm sure it would be more like home ground for them, because they've been, bowling, and our team has been practicing there, playing matches there. So I think Pakistan would surely have an edge. But how well prepared do you think Shaheen Afridi is?
I think Pakistan is lucky to have Shaheen Afridi in their squad, and he's improving. Every day, every series, you see him. A lot of improvement in his bowling, and he's lucky that he is keep playing cricket. He never gets injured, because there were few concerns when he was playing non-stop cricket for Pakistan in all formats, and we thought, and so many other people thought that he's gonna get injured at some stage. But
right.
It's touchwood. It's going well for him, going well for Pakistan, and again taking 18 wickets in 2-match test series is
right.
exceptional, and it's good for Pakistan going into the World Cup. Looking into World Cup coming in 2 months' time, so
right.
I'm sure it will always good to have as a Babar Azam, as a captain, to have a bowler like him in their squad.
Right, because as you mentioned, everyone did have that question mark for him, but yet again, he's young. I think we need to sometimes give him a break, because I think most of the cricketers do mention that, because the bowler actually needs break at some point in time. But yet again, he's surely proven himself as one of the exceptional bowlers that we have. But in my opinion, and I would also want your opinion, that sometimes for bowlers like Shaheen Afridi, we would also want him to have some off days so that he could actually take a break.
I mean, the amount of cricket we have been playing, or the players have been playing, or we have been watching, is non-stop. Where
right.
It's hardly for a player to have a 1 week off or 1 week rest. So
right.
I'm sure players have good days and bad days. As an ex-cricketer or as a coach now,
right.
I would say you got to accept that those things, and keep supporting, keep backing your bowlers or the batsmen.
Right.
In a way that they can be able to perform for their team. So you can't criticize bowler from one bad day or one bad performances. So Shaheen is an exceptional talent for Pakistan, and so as the other bowlers. So we always back our players, our bowlers, for them to do well for Pakistan.
Right. Well, Yasir, thank you so much for being a part of the show and seeing the world of cricket with us.
Thank you very much.
So that was Yasir Arafat, and obviously he gave us the in-depth analysis. Of course, we did discuss in terms of Pakistan leveling the series, the Test series with West Indies. Obviously managed to win against them by 109 runs. Not only that, we also talked about how Shaheen Afridi managed to be this amazing superstar in terms of getting 18 wickets. Not only that, we also talked about Fawad Alam's journey, and obviously he gave us more of the in-depth analysis about how much did he struggle to get where he is. Anyways, guys, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break. Once we come back from the break, we'll be discussing more sports. So see you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket, how we mentioned Pakistan managed to win against West Indies, the Test series, but leveled 1-1. But anyways, we're going to talk more about sports again. So now we're going to focus on tennis. Yes, we're going to talk about the underway tournament, that is Winston-Salem Open, and obviously a major disappointment in terms of Andy Murray being knocked out. And obviously why? Because he was already going through the injury, through his internal issues that he has been going through for a while, and he's trying to make a comeback, but still it's very difficult for him. But to discuss the in-depth analysis, we have with us Pete to discuss what's truly happening in the world of tennis. Pete, welcome to the show.
Wonderful to be back. Thank you kindly.
Great. So Pete, your input with regards to Andy Murray to begin with. Obviously, we all know he had this groin injury, and that had been growing, but he's been struggling for a while now. He was trying to make a comeback, and he's been doing that, but he's just not getting there. So how do you see this match, obviously, in which obviously he lost against Defoe, which is definitely a major disappointment for him?
Sure, it's all about match play for him at this time. Tiafoe is up-and-coming American who, again, just simply played better. And as you mentioned, Murray, I give him a lot of credit with respect to coming back as he did. We all, unfortunately, didn't have a chance to see the anticipated first-round match against Kyrgios, as Nick Kyrgios pulled out right beforehand. He got a lucky loser, Noah Rubin, that just played earlier in the day, who had nothing left. But Murray, it's about match play. The concern I have about Murray, obviously, we've got the U.S. Open coming up. That's best of 5, not best of 3. So Andy Murray, I give him a lot of credit for being able to come back as much and as well as he has. But if there's a part of the body that just doesn't want to function, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Right. So the struggle is going to continue for him, but I still think that, sometimes you need enough rest to get back to life. But obviously, if you struggle more, I think, as you mentioned, your body will definitely give up on you. And I think he's currently trying or struggling to get there, but I think he's trying too hard. And you've all known this in terms of all the athletes out there who actually put an extra effort and do not rest enough, eventually have long-term injuries and they suffer then.
That's very true. Dominic Thiem is probably Exhibit A. He's on the sidelines now. Obviously, the U.S. Open champion of last year, who's not going to be able to even defend this because he's got a wrist injury. Right. The knock on him for a long time was he played way too much. He was a top 5 player, right, challenged at majors, won Masters 1000s, and yet just played too much tennis. It was obvious to the casual tennis fan. You just can't put in the mileage like that at this point.
Right. So anyways, in terms of, would surely want to talk about Teofo to begin with. How do you see him further progressing and where do you see him in the long run? Because he already has an upcoming match. So, how do you see his progress so far?
Well, big credit for him for getting that win, even against an injured or ailing Andy Murray. You still have to get the win, so right, that's a big win for him. The bottom half of this draw is wide open. The bigger names are all at the top, and so there really isn't much in terms of maybe Tiafoe making a very deep run here. He has to feel good about himself with respect to the fact that he did beat Murray. Right. That said, there's always a letdown when you have a big win against a big name, so he has to guard against that going forward. But I think he should at least get to the semifinals here.
Well, and who do you currently think, in terms of how things are progressing in this tournament, is pretty much likely to get there where he's supposed to, or maybe the top 2 that you think would probably eventually end up reaching the finals of the tournament?
Sure. Well, the number 1 seed, Pablo Carreno Busta, he right, basically, one second here. Yeah, he won the bronze medal. He had a win against Medvedev at the Olympics, beat right, Djokovic, obviously, at the Olympics in the bronze medal match. Actually right, was the recipient of the win against Djokovic at the U.S. Open when Djokovic was defaulted. He's the number 1 seed. He's playing very good, confident tennis right now. Right. It is a little bit more jammed up with bigger names at the top, but I do like him. Benoit Paire played some very exceptional tennis last week in Cincinnati. Right. Got some nice wins. They could perhaps play in the semifinals. I see the winner of this Winston-Salem tournament coming out of the top half. Probably Carreno Busta just has to guard against overplaying. The danger of this tournament, as John Isner did for a number of years when he played and won that, he lost very early then in the U.S. Open, second, third round. So it's nice to get a win or go deep in this tournament, but you've got a major the very next week and you can't overplay. Right.
And talking about the major, in terms of obviously the US Open, it's always about getting there and, grabbing that major title. I think, all those who are struggling right now, surely anyone who actually manages to get maybe even to the finals would surely have a psychological edge of maybe playing maybe a stronger of themselves in the US Open.
Absolutely. Cincinnati's a very good barometer. I've covered that tournament 11 years, limited media this year, but ironically, last week in Cincinnati, the top 4 seeds all got to the semifinals. Those are all big names at this point with Zverev, Medvedev, Rublev, et cetera. And so, and Tsitsipas, obviously. So they did what they needed to. They got their prep work in last week. Obviously, this is a rest week for those big names. Right. But aside from the Djokovic of the world, the next group of 4, if you will, are right there.
Right, we're so looking forward for that. I would also want your update with regards to the US Open in terms of the venue itself, because as you just mentioned that, it's limited audience, so which means that the media is also limited. Is it due to the same COVID-19 situation or is it something else?
Well, ironically, qualifying at the U.S. Open, which is always a nice treat for a lot of people, it was free. A lot of people would go to those matches in New York, and it would be free on the grounds for spectators, as opposed to very expensive tickets once the tournament got underway. They're not allowing any spectators in for qualifying this year, which is a big disappointment to a lot of people. The media, as I mentioned, I usually go to Cincinnati. That didn't happen this year. What I was told with Cincinnati is a lot of foreign journalists outside of the U.S. were having troubles even getting into the United States
Right.
for that tournament. And even if you were on site, the press conferences were done via Zoom with everybody in another room, et cetera, or some outside interviews, et cetera. So it's still different right now here in the U.S., in New York. It will be a different format going forward. I think they're obviously going to try and sell as many tickets as possible, but very interesting that there's nobody allowed on the grounds for qualifying, but yet as soon as the tournament gets underway, they're hoping for full houses.
Yes, but that is also, I think we all are finally coming up to the point of, maybe getting to a new normal. And I think it's not only, not only the athletes, but also, people like us who are like enthusiasts, like you said, that even in the qualifying, but it would surely have a bigger impact on the qualifying rounds of those who are actually in the courts.
Absolutely right, and a good point. It's a new normal. Tennis players are creatures of habits. These bubbles, these extended bubbles that they've had to be in now for about a year and a half. Obviously, some have mastered that. Some have gotten to know the drill. We've got some violators out there that, unfortunately, they or their camp have come down with positive test. They have been knocked out of the tournament for that reason. So it's been, we have 18 months now under our belt, just about. Some players have been able to cope with that and do better. Others have just completely lost their way, pulled ripcord, not really played much. We've seen that with Kyrgios, a lot of rust, not a lot of match play. He opted to not play a lot of tournaments during this time.
Well, Pete, like I said, I think we all have to adjust to the new normal, be it the athletes or us. But anyways, thank you very much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of tennis with us.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate it.
So that was Zebron, and obviously he discussed the in-depth analysis in terms of what's truly happening in the world of tennis. And I think it is interesting to see the progress, and obviously a major disappointment with regards to Andy Murray losing the match. Anyways, but all are looking forward and all have the eyes towards the upcoming US Open. We'll surely cover that for you guys. Anyways, quickly jumping over to the next news, and we're going to talk about Paralympics, which is Tokyo Paralympics open after a year's virus delay on Tuesday. And Paralympics open with a howling guitar and the neon streak performance, which is super interesting. And the 13-day Paralympics with 539 gold medals are up for grab for across 22 sports. So let's hope that it turns out and it eventually conclusively does well, because it had been delayed for a while, and obviously every tournament had been delayed because of the fact of coronavirus, but now finally it has come to the conclusive side. And in the obviously Paralympics, I'd also want to discuss Sarah Story, who won the Paralympics GB first gold medal, and she claimed her 15th Paralympics gold medal, and she has retained her C5 3,000 meter individual pursuit title, which surely a big congratulations to her. And I think it's just the beginning, and we'll surely be covering more things with regards to how truly, what truly happens in the world of Paralympics. But anyways, guys, this was pretty much it from the world of sports. If you guys reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourselves, and bye-bye.